Hello, everybody. This is going to be another GM advice type video. Today, I'm going to talk about building on contacts and giving them a little bit more advice, not advice, life and personality than what we had before. I'm going to go back to Games for GMs 2, where I introduced Wyatt Burp. Now, he was a bartender in the Dusty Trail that the runners ended up going to for information. He also, you know, super uh, super cowboy themed place down to the digital spurs that they would attach to your persona as you walk this kind of place, and cowboy hats, dusters, dirty glasses that they serve their drinks in, and the 360-degree rotating cyber arm wrist. It had a bunch of flavor for it, and then the characters ended up um, making basically friends with him, and to the point where I felt it was appropriate to add him to, at the very least, Alice's sheet as a contact. Now, contacts are one of the parts that make Shadowrun unique and interesting because they are people that you know. These people have lives outside of waiting around patiently for uh, your runners to call upon them to do kind of stuff. And I want to talk today about expanding upon how you can get them involved in your characters' lives rather than just having it be something they call whenever they need something. For this, I'm going to call upon Dungeon World. Dungeon World is a fantastic rules light system that was produced Adam Coble and Sage Latora. It's probably just a um, I guess a pen name. It's a rules light fantasy setting based upon a 2d6 dice system and a a role playing over mechanics focus. It is a fantastic little system that every DM should at least read the book for because it will help you on so many different levels. And a lot of what I'm about to talk about is going to reference the front system from Dungeon World. The GMing section is short. You can read just that. You can read the whole thing. It's the kind of thing that if you have a printer, you can, when somebody doesn't come to game night, you can throw this down and be like, all right, guys, let's just play this real quick. It's role playing first aspect is something I'm going to bring up hopefully in one of the games for GMs that I do, maybe three, maybe one of the later on down the road, where it will hopefully bring your players into that more role play oriented description of what they're doing rather than, all right, I'm going to shoot him with my Ruger. Hopefully get them into the, all right, I slam my back against the wall, poke my head out, fire off a single shot with my Ruger before snapping back around to cover. Does the same thing. I'm shooting my gun and I'm getting a cover bonus as opposed to I duck behind this wall for cover and I shoot them. One is a lot more descriptive and tells you a lot more flavor about what is going on and what is important to the group. Granted, if you're a not RP heavy in intense situations like combat group, you don't need to do it. But um, it is a tactic that can be very helpful in getting through things. So I'm going to grab the Dungeon World online book that they have here. Uh, that's probably super hard to read. Let me see if I can make that bigger. I can't really. I'm sorry. I have failed you on a deep and personal level. I apologize. So a front is basically the little wheels within wheels that are going on. So just about anything can be a front. In this situation, they have met Wyatt, and he is now a person that they're going to be interacting with on the regular. So we're going to come up here to our building contacts. We're going to come down. Wyatt Burp front. Coming back over to Dungeon World real quick. So when to make them? You're going to make them mostly after your first session, but then as important things happen and go onwards and onwards, the more of your world you describe and fill in, the more interesting people you meet, the more fronts that we're going to have ongoing. Um, there's a couple of different ways to do it, and this is more of a background aspect of things. So coming down to the steps that Dungeon World recommends is choose a campaign front or adventure front. Wyatt is probably on a personal or adventure or let's make him a campaign base because he's going to be present for the entire length of the campaign. Coming back over here, choose 2 to 3 dangers. So what are things that could be affecting Wyatt in the future? Bar shortages. I should probably actually use the actual formatting stuff that's in this, right? People, he might need somebody to cover. Equipment / supplies. Shipments. Basically, whatever you want to come up with. Um, he he is a person who is gonna have problems because everybody has problems in there. Um, if the runners are unable to help him with this, maybe they can't come in and fill in bar backing for a night or that kind of stuff. Well, maybe he becomes unavailable because one of the things in the front is to talk about an impending doom or a grim port. Um, other potential problems that Wyatt could have is his competition. New bars, pressured to sell. I apologize for not being able to spell, talk, and type at the same time. Um, protection money. These are all things that Wyatt's going to deal with as he was a Touristville-based bar. Coming back over to fronts. So there's our 2 to 3 dangers that we can have. The impending doom for each danger. Impending doom for his shortages. Loss of customers. Customers' income. This is going to affect him in a couple of ways. Maybe he will then have to sell. Maybe he was going to have to shut down and be unavailable. Maybe he has to leave Seattle. Maybe he just disappears with the competition. And here we have the impending doom of losing the bar. He's going to have people coming after him for money, or maybe he is in the mind to sell because it's a lot of pressure on him, and now he wants, you know, Corp comes in, offers a bunch of money, but the runners have grown to like this bar for whatever reason. Maybe, you have that guy that wants to be the actual gunslinger from Old West. That's how he envisions his character, and finding a bar that fits him so perfectly, he gets emotionally invested in it and doesn't want the bar to close because then it's just going to become a something else that is not his bar and is probably the exact opposite of what he wants. Or maybe they are gang members in your runner team that don't want this other gang to gain this foothold here. So there's our impending dooms real quick. So the grim portents are your scroll down here past all of this one things that they tell you about. Um, little things that you can weave into the invention. When your team calls up Wyatt or goes there to talk to him, maybe they see him having a heated conversation with a guy in a suit, corp type guy, or maybe mafia type guy if you want to go that way. Whatever it is, they see him, they're going to come in, he's having a heated conversation. This is going to hopefully prompt them to ask what's up. Like, all right, that's odd. That wasn't here the last time. Maybe if we're going with the shortages, when they come in to relax and they either ask for a whiskey, sorry, not a whiskey. As they look around, they notice that there's significantly less patrons in here. And then if they have a high enough loyalty, they can get into a little bit of the role playing. We can explain that somebody jacked his shipment that was supposed to come in, and now he's losing customers because of it. This is the second week in a row this has happened. It's a different little impending doom that you have set up there. Sorry, not impending. a grim port that is kind of coming down. Then we're going to come down to the stakes involved. Um, the stakes are pretty much the bar, losing a meeting place. I really spell. Uh, Personal interests. That gunslinger adept that you have is like really into this place. He would just be sad if it went away. So he has a personal interest or a personal stake in making sure this place stays around. He may talk to Wyatt a little bit more than your your other guys, and maybe he is the one that's going to approach the team and be like, "Come on, guys, Wyatt needs our help. Do this for me," and that kind of thing. And then it's the cast of characters that are going to be involved. So we're going to have Wyatt, obviously, a organized crime slash gangs, a suppliers. As I scroll this down, um, the runners, maybe Mr. Johnson, who hired them at Wyatt's bar, it really likes that bar too. Um, the competing bar, who is perhaps funding or putting pressure on the gangers and that kind of stuff uh, to take down his bar so that they can profit from. So we have a little bit of a storyline here built for why that if the characters don't do anything, they are going to end up losing. It'll take a while because you don't want to be like, all right, here's this new contact. You want to wait a couple of sessions to get them invested in who he is and that kind of stuff, and let them make that decision to investigate what's going on with him when they come in, 2 or 3 times down the road. Throw that corp guy trying to make an offer on buying it out. Throw that empty bar on a night that's usually hopping because uh his shipment has been intercepted, the second week in a row. He's struggling because of that. Intersparse those with uh the rest of the actual runs and things that you're doing. So it's like, all right, you guys just finished that run. You have a week or so of downtime. What do you guys want to do? If you do that after a run where they went and interacted with him and he told them about this kind of personal issue he's having, then uh, hopefully during that downtime they may go back to him and want to talk to him and see what's up. It's like, I've got some free time. What can I help you out with, buddy? And it gives you room for these contacts to grow and for more role playing and actual character interaction as opposed to Johnson's going to hire me to do money. Let me. What do you do in your free time as a professional criminal? Like, you don't just go down to the range for the next 12 hours every day and shoot your guns so that you can um, get your better pistol skill. Give them a little bit of time to interact with the world in a downtime setting to do it. For the contacts that people have come up with from like character generation, talk about after a character calls them up, talk about who they are and get an idea from the player. 5 or 6 big bullet points about the things that are important to that contact, and then you can build a front for that contact as well, just as easy. A lot of the things that I talked about here with Wyatt are easily transferable. You have a black arms dealer, we'll say, a black market arms dealer, we'll say. He could have a lot of these problems. Vori has been acting up, and all of a sudden his shipments of illegal goods have been getting hit, or they are trying to undersell him to cut him out of the business to get him out. Or maybe he has significantly more personal problems. Maybe he has a wife that is catching on to what's going on, and then she needs. Um, he's trying to find a distraction for her of like uh, a couple of girlfriends that she can go out with and do things. Your information broker, you don't just call him when you want stuff. He might call you up and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for information on a thing. and word on the street is you're doing a run in the general area of said thing. Throw that extra opportunity in for contact growth and that RP of, I know you're going into this facility for a job. All right, well, how did my contact figure that out? I didn't tell him. So, is that contact somebody that can be trusted? Or are they going to potentially rat you out? Are you going to do the side job for them while you're on your main job? Are you going to tell your team about it? Are you going to get a little the extra new you can get out of it? Are you going to share that with your team if you tell them? Is it then going to increase the loyalty of that contact for doing these little jobs for him on the side of your actual jobs? Um, if you guys are having problems coming up with interesting contact ideas, I have a list on the Runner Hub sidebar of the Runner Hub's like official contacts. Please take them, use them. Um, their special rules that I have listed on there are let's call it a suggestion for consistency's sake. A a bunch of different contacts can be used a bunch of different ways depending upon what you're trying to do. I put those special rules on the hub contacts so that when you're in a run, you don't have to worry about going from table to table about what this contact can do for you because you know it will always be able to do at least these things. There's plenty of room for inspiration and creative interpretation there. Uh, and not all of your contacts need to be criminal organizations. One of the more popular ones on the hub is Butch. He is a total dude bro out of Seattle U. He has been there for 6 years on his bachelor degree program. He's really into fitness and extreme sports and that kind of thing. So on the hub, what he does is he reduces the amount of time it takes for you to train physical attributes up because we run on a fairly standard day-to-day basis. Like 1 day is 1 day. That is how long training times for these attributes. He also lets you pick up some physical-oriented qualities, and he has the ability to get you some party drugs or performance enhancers because he is a dude bro jock that likes to party. So he's going to have access to things like Bliss, Zen, and that kind of stuff. At the same time of having access to things like Cram and such, because sometimes you got to get your pump on. Um, Man, I feel dirty saying that. So there's a couple of other things that you can do interesting with a just normal people that you call up. My face on the hub has a paralegal contact that I have called up on at least half of the runs that I have been on to ask pseudo legal advice about hypothetical situations under the guise that my character uh, is going to law school herself. So, hey, I came across this question in a test or a research that I was doing for a class. Can you help me out here? And then they give me some information on this air quotes hypothetical situation of this is a criminal activity I'm about to do. So it's all in how you kind of get to it. Um, there's really anybody can be a contact, and with the ones you give out, you have most of the control over who has issues and problems with them and things that can go wrong. Work with your players, find out who they were before the game started, find out what the player kind of had in mind about where they are going to go, and then you can build these fronts from the Dungeon World, which Dungeon World's a great book. Totally read it. Please, please, please. Um, you could build just these quick little fronts. It's a couple of notes. You saw that took me not even 10 minutes, and that was explaining what it was to looking at your table. You're going to see that you have, let's say, 4 players. They're all probably going to have 2 or 3 different contacts. That's 12 different opportunities for complications or things of interest to happen either on a run or in between runs, and ways for you to grow your world outside of um, outside of just doing criminal activities. It can even be little dumb, silly things like it's an easy job, but somewhere during it, one of your contacts that you are friends with, and is a more just basic friends rather than a criminal or uh, actual contact type thing, calls you up, dude. I need bail money. I'm being arrested. You're my one phone call. Help, help, help. So all of a sudden you're leaving the scene of a crime in the car with a bunch of other criminals, and you got your buddy asking you for bail money. Like, I'm on a time scale because I got to get this delivered to the J, but at the same time, you need, I don't know, 5,000 million to get out of jail. Like, how important is your friend to you? And that is something that can come back and haunt you. Let's roll it back to a more uh, a younger guy. Maybe you're a college age runner who is running the shadows to try and get some new unit to pay for all of your tuition that you have to deal with. So it's a situation of, oh man, I really was having this money to pay for that tuition, and I really need to finish this job. But my buddy, who is my roommate, and he got busted and he's in jail and he needs my help. Well, now I'm gonna have to deal with that guy all the time because I live in a college dorm with him. And if I leave him rot in jail, that can make things complicated when I call him up to ask for a favor of, hey, uh, I need to cut class. Can you get the notes for me? Because you're going out to do something criminal that day. I I'm not really sure where to continue on with this subject because a lot of it is going to depend upon your players, your table, how you wish to set your game. But at the same time, I hope that it was something interesting to you so that you have an idea on different ways that you can behind the scenes through these fronts and remembering that these are people as well, kind of build on and make your game feel more alive. Your world is more consistent with how the world is today for us as we go on. Uh, so if you guys have further questions, please leave it down in the comment section. I will, of course, be checking that every day to see what you guys have questions for and answering them as best I can. If as we go on, I will try and get more in-depth context. I feel like I want to actually have a bunch of notes down on paper somewhere so that I present them in a meaningful way rather than trying to type and speak and spell properly. As you see, I'm terrible at that. And maybe build them forward. I could probably do a couple of quick videos on uh, just specific little fun contacts like Wyatt with a front pre-built for him, kind of like I do for the character sheets. You guys can go ahead and use. Um, but I'm rambling now, and I should be rambling to Twitch chat, not to the YouTube video that's going up. So I'm just gonna say thank you guys for stopping in and listening. Please do all that YouTube stuff that every YouTuber always asks you to do: the rate, the comment, subscribe, that kind of stuff. If you have questions, leave them down there. I'm not gonna put this building context um, description link in the video description. I will actually just write it out, I feel. But I will put a link to the Dungeon World stuff, which you should totally read that. It's great. It will really change the way you think about GMing, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Thank you, and have a good day.